It's been a day of solemn reflection for family, friends and members of the Inky fraternity in Ghana and parts of the world today as they mark 1 year since armed men attacked and killed investigative journalist Ahmed Suale. His killing happened not long after leading investigations which revealed widespread corruption within the Ghana Football Association and beyond. The then GFA president Kwesi Nyantakyi was suspended by FIFA and was forced to resign his position. As we mark 1 year of his murder, the concern, though, has been the work of the police to track his killers. No arrests have been made and the investigation is extremely slow, according to family members. At the ceremony to mark the day, various speakers highlighted the need to fast-track the search for the killers so that they can be brought to book.
Very, very disappointed, especially when a murder as such was done in Ghana here, and 1 year on nothing has happened, comparing to others on same incident that happened, that took place, who are able, which the security agencies are able to arrest within few days. So the question we always ask ourselves is that, is our brother not a Ghanaian, or is it because he has no one to stand for him, or is it because he's not a security personnel? Because apart from the one we cited during our statement, you remember just around that time, a similar case happened in the northern region. A police woman was shot at a barrier. Within 2 or 3 days, the murderer were arrested. And when all these things, and Ahmed incident happened before that. So the question is, so why Ahmed? Is it because he's a civilian?
My colleague Ahmed Suale spoke to you some 5 or 6 months ago, and you made the point that even information flow from the police to the family has not been forthcoming, etc. Months on, has that changed, and what is the status of the investigations police have told you?
The truth is that day in, day out, the communication gap between the family and the security keep widening. What I told your colleague some 6 months ago is even worse now, because like I said, even the CID handling the case were changed, and the family was not informed. The family had to hear it somewhere and go to the CID headquarters just to be confirmed that what we heard was true. And a case such as this, how on earth is it possible for a CID to be changed without informing the family and other stakeholders involved, if the police really wanted to involve the family or whatever?
So what avenues now are available, since the police, from what you tell us, appear not to be doing enough in this particular pursuit?
We think the avenue to add your voice to it, like you started, and the government itself will have to step up a bit.
Now, how is the immediate family of Mr. Suale coping with all of this? His children, his other immediate family, 1 year on?
As we can see, it still sounds as if the incident happened yesterday to us. The children are living with us, and day in, day out, you see them and you share tears. And the truth is, we are just managing.
And what will be the end result that will gratify the family in all of this tragic circumstance?
We believe getting these wicked killers, the law dealing with them, will at least tell us we are living in a nation that cares about its citizenry.
And there's hope that justice will be delivered, you believe?
Somehow there used to be hope, but it looks like day in, day out, the hope is fading out.
Do not trust this assurance?
Anyway, for the family, we have given the police enough information, waiting to hear them taking any step. Till now, we've not heard they have taken any step regards to the information we have given them. So we still say it's one of the rhetoric, as every day they do.
Well, what has the Ghana Journalists Association got to say about this? They are equally disappointed in the slow pace of this case. President Roland Afamoni has been speaking.
As under attack, and I've said it because one single attack manifests in attacks on all of us. And the enemies of press freedom are still lurking around. And the danger also looms large as we inch towards election 2020. The more we expose dark spots, the more we expose real or perceived acts of corruption, the more we step on toes. And the more we step on toes, the more our lives become endangered. So there's a need for us to sound more than ever before a clarion caution to all journalists not to fall easy prey to the enemies of press freedom. The Bible says the heart of man is desperately wicked, but the hearts of enemies of press freedom are desperately wicked. So never should we fall easy prey to their desperation and acts of wickedness, utmost wickedness as manifested in Ahmed Suale's death. Avoid places which will endanger your security or peril your lives. If you're invited to a function, please do your checks. Make sure that the place is safe for you to go, because your life is far more important than the news you are going to fetch. You ought to be alive before you can fetch the news. So in order of priorities, your life first and the news second. Never should you put your life and news on the same scale. Never should you do that.
And as journalists protect themselves or learn to protect themselves even more, there's still calls on the police to work this out. Ahmed Suale's last work, number 12, was for the BBC BBC Africa Eye, and they're also unhappy about the pace of investigation. Sami Dako represented the BBC.
BBC Africa Eye would like to express its condolences to the family of Ahmed Hussein Suale. Ahmed was a valued colleague who worked with us on several investigations, and we mourn his passing. Reporting of this kind practiced by Ahmed, journalism that holds power to account, is central to the functioning of any democracy and is a service to society. Journalism is not a crime. We continue to hope that Ahmed's killers will be brought to justice and send our sincere sympathies to all who knew and loved them.
Samedako there. And Tiger Eye PI itself, which Ahmed Suale worked for, is worried about the situation. They are represented by Latif Ibaka.
We won't say we've lost trust. We have full trust in the security agencies. But what we are actually saying is that we need information. For the past, just 2 months, 3 months after the death of Ahmed, you realize that a lot has been done in terms of the fact that the police keep saying they've made massive progress. 6 months, they keep saying they've made massive progress. 8 months, 9 months, 1 year, they keep saying they've made massive progress. The question is, what do we mean by massive progress? The family doesn't know, Tiger Eye doesn't know, the media doesn't know. It makes me feel uncomfortable that as if nothing has been done. We must understand what the massive progress actually means, so that at least we'll have some kind of belief that, oh, there are some efforts being taken. But now we know efforts are being taken as told by the police, but we don't know to which extent is that effort. So we are just urging and pleading that if the Ghana security agencies or the police it's actually having some challenges or difficulties, it will be good enough to open their arms wide so that they can invite other international bodies who are willing to support, who have the expertise and are willing to support in making sure that we secure justice for the family, to come on board and help in this process. I think that would help Mother Ghana in terms of this kind of security issues, journalists not being secured and so on and so forth. If we're able to secure justice for the family, it gives confidence to the other journalists, in that at least you can practice your works safely.
So how does the police respond to these concerns? Here is Juliana Bane, who speaks for the police CID, which is investigating the incident.
The CID, or the Ghana Police Service, has not rested in its efforts to get perpetrators to face the full rigors of the law. The police service says that it has not closed the docket on this case, and the docket is also not gathering dust wherever it is. Investigators on this case are working around the clock 24/7 and have also not grown cold feet on the matter. Every lead given us, that is the police administration, is given the needed and required attention. And at this point, I encourage family members present, friends, the media, and of course the entire country to continue to volunteer not just information, but timely, accurate information that would help the police in order to assist in the ongoing investigations. A lot of information has been gathered, and I say at this moment on behalf of the Ghana Police Service that there's been tremendous progress on the case, but unfortunately it is something that I can't share with you this morning. The Inspector General of Police assures the family and the media fraternity, and of course the entire country, that investigations is vigorously ongoing and justice would certainly be served.
Juliana Bane speaks for the CID. Well, the situation has raised concerns about the safety of journalists in Ghana. First, though, take a look at some work done by private investigative group Forbidden Stories. Now, this is an outcome of the research or the investigation they came to do here in Ghana. It says one of these witnesses, they're talking about witnesses at the time that Ahmed Suale was killed. One of these witnesses preferred to move to Kumasi, and don't mind the spelling of Kumasi, by the way, in the center of the country for fear of reprisals. Another finally agreed to talk to us. On 16 January, this witness saw the two suspects distinctly at the junction where they shot Ahmed. And they're quoting the person, says, "I saw their faces very closely. The shooter was not very tall, about 40 years old, 50 at the most. The other was driving the motorcycle and he was younger. The shooter was standing there at the corner. I thought he was trying to steal my money, so I never took my eyes off them. But when Ahmed arrived, he pulled out his gun. We show him a sketch of the shooter, then that of his accomplice. The witness is petrified, his eyes wide open, his lips and hands are shaking. It's the first time he's seeing these faces again. The portraits look just like the men." He explains in shock. He describes what happened, throwing anxious glances around. The one who fired, it's him. When he fired the last shot at Ahmed, he turned towards me and looked at me laughing. The little scar on the arch of his eyebrow distinguishes him. After his crime, he jumped on the motorcycle, whose license plate had been concealed. This witness, according to the report to the murder, was never questioned by the police, despite the details in his possession. Investigators have yet to catch the suspect. The police came several times. They came to question me on 20th January, but I did not say anything. The witness explains before nodding his head and repeating, "It's them, it's them." that the investigators managed to put together. The sketches that investigators managed to put together as an artistic impression of these people, or who these people possibly are, how they look like. And this is the picture the investigator is referring to. That he showed this picture to one of the witnesses at the time that Ahmed was shot, and the person said, "This is him, this is him, it is them," he says. If you look at the narrative, the person who is supposed to have done the shooting is this person on the right with a scar on the top of his eye, and this younger person is supposed to be the person that's riding the motorbike. We're talking about protection of journalists. This morning, former President John Mahama, who is also flag bearer for the opposition NDC, has been speaking about the treatment of journalists in this country. Listen.
Ghanaians look forward to the NDC stepping, and I repeat, Ghanaians look forward to the NDC stepping up to the plate and wresting power from this government that has promised so much but has delivered so little. A government that has benefited from so much in terms of resources, but has so little to show. A government that has reinstated the culture of silence, closing radio stations and media houses, intimidating journalists, and persecuting critics of government. A government that pledged to protect the public purse, but has opened it up for systematic looting and abuse through profligacy and ostentatious expenditure. A government which said it will provide inclusive governance, but has ended up practicing the worst form of nepotism and state capture. A government that is all too quick to collapse Ghanaian businesses when other cost-effective options could have been used to correct the challenges in the financial sector. A government that is cooking the books to show economic numbers that are better than the reality. Debts and arrears are being hidden as footnotes and treated below the line and off budget. The recent IMF report that the honorable minority leader referred to has discovered these numbers.
Former President John Dramani Mahama, there, who's also flag bearer of the NDC, he was speaking at the launch of the party's fundraising platforms for the election 2020. We'll bring you more of that in our subsequent bulletins.